Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kayfabe Central. I must be loud because okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. I apologize to your eardrums, for that. Um, I just saw my mic meter go like all the way up. So apologies for that. But welcome back to Predict the Bell. I am your host Josh. As always, today we are doing my WWE NXT Battleground 2025 predictions. That was a long title. I've just been calling it NXT Battleground. I was gonna just put on the website NXT Battleground, but then I saw um, most people just put WWE NXT, so I'm like, oh, okay, we'll just go with that and assume that's the correct term because I guess it is the correct term. Um, but yeah, I not too long ago finished my double or nothing predictions, and now we are doing this, and we still have to do Saturday night's main event predictions podcast, and I still have to do that on the website as well. So yeah, a lot of things to do. But yeah, we're gonna knock this out of the park. This shouldn't be too long of a podcast because there's not much on this card, and honestly, not much to talk about. In regards to the matches on this card either. So, um, before we get into that though, a little bit of self promo. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, interviews, all that good stuff. Go subscribe to the Kayfabe Central Ko-Fi page or Kof. I gotta figure out how to pronounce that because I can't be promoting this and not know how to pronounce it. But go subscribe to that. It's in the description on my link tree. Go follow me on Instagram and Twitter/X and all that good stuff for updates, for daily updates and clips from press conferences and all that good stuff. Um, and yeah, go if you plan on buying anything from WWE Shop. Go ahead and use my link for WWE Shop. Doesn't give you a discount or anything. It just helps me out a little bit. So if you plan on going to WWE Shop and buying anything, go ahead and use that link out and help me out a little bit. Um, but yeah, we're here with the NXT Battleground predictions. So I want to talk about this first before I get into any match on the card. The NXT North American Championship. So try to follow me here. So this all starts with last week. Um, Sean Legacy, Super Sean Legacy, made a video calling out Javon Evans, saying, we should run it back 1-on-1 instead of a battle royal or whatever. Javon is watching the video in the locker room. Ashante the Adonis overhears this and comes over and is like, oh, I can beat both of you. Ricky Saints overhears this, right? And says, I'd like to see that. I'm gonna go talk to Ava to get you guys a triple threat match. Ashante, who wants to fight Javon, and Super Sean Legacy, who just wants to fight Javon, is now a triple threat match. And he said that the winner of that will face him at Battleground. Now, I am not 100% sure that he said at Battleground, but I am almost certain that he said at Battleground. So, fast forward to last night on NXT, we have the triple threat, and before I get into that, last week at the end of NXT, Ethan Page attacked Ricky Saints, so that's there, right? Even I'm losing track of this, and then so this week we have the triple threat match. Ethan Page attacks Ricky Saints at ringside again, who was on commentary. Javon Evans jumps out onto both of them and all the security guards for whatever reason because he cost himself the opportunity to fight for the North American title. I don't know why you would do that, but he did. He jumps onto them, and in my mind, I was thinking that Ethan Page, Javon Evans couldn't talk for a while because of Ethan Page, right? He was spitting up blood because of Ethan Page. So it's like, okay, I don't like this guy. Anytime I see him, it's on site. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe this ends up in a triple threat. Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, and Ethan Page. That's not the direction they went. Because Sean Legacy pinned Ashante the Adonis, and now, a little bit after that, Ava has Ricky Saints and Ethan Page backstage and says, "I am so mad at both of you that Sean Legacy has to wait for his opportunity." And they don't do this match at Battleground. They do this match next week at NXT, which is no longer in Tampa, and it's just going to be at the Performance Center now. So this whole thing is a mess, and it is so messy that it is confusing. And again, I've spoken about this so many times where WWE books themselves into a corner, and they have been doing it so much, especially on the road to WrestleMania all the way till now. They have been booking themselves in corners. And honestly, I don't even think WWE knows what they're doing with this North American title scene right now. I really don't think they know. They're just going along with the flow. And I heard somebody say this earlier. It's like it's such a weird time for wrestling because um especially particularly in the WWE, where it's like they're in that post WrestleMania slump and the entire wrestling community is on autopilot, and they're just giving you whatever, even if it makes no sense, and they're just like, deal with it. And I think that's a really shitty way of going about booking things. And but that's the way WWE has been doing things recently. Um so yeah, I don't think Ethan Page is going to win that title. But even if he were to win that title, this would just mean Sean Legacy is the first one to lose to Ethan Page. And if Ricky Saints retains, which I think is likely, then it's just a babyface versus babyface matchup. So I really don't know. And the problem with the babyface versus babyface matchup is the fact that Sean Legacy is just getting started. I feel like they're pushing him a little too fast. I can see him becoming the Evolve champion, but I feel like they're pushing him a little too fast. And um when it comes to Ricky Saints versus Sean Legacy, it's you're gonna drain out some of that hype that Sean Legacy has because the crowds are gonna be behind Ricky Saints, and so the crowd is gonna need to be against somebody, and they're more than likely going to pick the side of Ricky Saints. So again, they're booking themselves into a corner, and it's it's unfortunate that they keep doing this. And yeah, it and overall, back to my point about the wrestling community being on autopilot. This week, like Raw was was boring. Honestly, it was a bore. NXT, I was practically falling asleep throughout, and it's like I'll talk more about this on the headlines of the week. Um, but like we had a thing with Tatum and Thea Hale, Tatum Paxley and Thea Hale, where Tatum was on the floor crying, and Thea Hale goes up to her and like, "Hey, why'd you punch my eye or whatever?" And they have a conversation, and then Jada comes out of nowhere and attacks Thea, and goes down to Tatum and says, "I really do feel bad for you," or something along those lines. And Tatum's like, "Really?" And Jada's like, "No, you idiot," and walks away. And it's like, and another thing, why wasn't Carmen Petrovic involved in that? Because last week the whole thing was Tatum was mad that Thea and Carmen are not friends. So Carmen wasn't involved in that. I have no idea what's going on with that storyline, or most storylines in NXT for that matter. Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on like everything there, like with the North American title scene and just NXT and like the product in general. Like the past few weeks have just been not good, honestly. It really hasn't been good. And I have really tried to hone in and enjoy it, but it it's been bad. It has been bad. Um So yeah, we are going to talk about the actual Battleground card though. Um, we're gonna start off with the NXT Championship match: Obafemi versus Miles Bourne. Now it shocked me that Miles Bourne got this opportunity, and I like it. I shocked in a good way because I think Miles Bourne is great. I think he's a good wrestler. And it's really cool that they're giving him the opportunity. And another thing is, I love that they're giving him the chance to speak, right? Especially with people like Stephanie Vaquer, they're not limiting them, right? They're letting them be themselves, which I absolutely love. That is one thing I will give NXT their props for, is that the fact that they're letting these people be themselves. Um, so but when it comes to this, I don't think at all that Miles Bourne is walking out with the NXT title. I think this is just something different. And I really honestly, when you look at this entire card, I don't think that they put their best foot forward because they're going up against Double or Nothing. And so that might be why. But I like this for Miles Bourne, and maybe Miles Bourne goes into the North American title scene after this. I can see a world where Charlie Dempsey costs Miles Bourne the match, whether it's unintentionally or intentionally. I can see that being the case, even though technically and logically speaking, Obafemi doesn't need a distraction for Miles Bourne to win, but it'll protect Miles Bourne, and maybe go into a feud with Charlie Dempsey there, and then eventually into the North American title scene. And who knows, maybe in like a year or so, he'll work his way back to the NXT title scene. Um, but yeah, I think Obafemi retains that one. The next match we're going to talk about here, let's see, what do we have here? Um, let's talk about Channing Stacks Lorenzo versus Tony D'Angelo. Now, this is a feud. Like, for this week on NXT, they did the bare minimum of promoting this, and uh, I'm trying to find the word, and extending this feud and really making this feud stand out. All it was this week is, oh hey, remember this match is on the card. That's literally all it was. So there was nothing there. I think Stacks is going to win this match. I think that there is a high possibility that Tony D'Angelo gets costed the match by Adriano Rizzo or Luca Crucifino, or maybe both. I think that this is going to lead to Stacks being the leader of the family, being the boss, or being the Don. So yeah, I think that's where this is gonna go. In terms of Tony D'Angelo, this is a guy that's been in NXT for a long time. But here's the thing with Tony D'Angelo potentially going up to the main roster. I don't think his gimmick works on the main roster. I don't think his character works at all up there. Because there's a certain amount of like goofiness and things along those lines that you can get away with on NXT. Like, we've seen it with a lot of people. Like I'm trying to think of like Emma years ago. Her like little hand popping bubbles dance or whatever she was doing got over in NXT. But when she went up to the main roster, she did it for about a week. It didn't get over, and they completely changed her gimmick. So, and I think if Tony D'Angelo goes up to the main roster without a family, like after, potentially Adriano Rizzo or Luca Cristofino turning on them, and him being without a family and going up to the main roster by himself, is really, it's going to look stupid. It's going to look bad, and it's going to be like, oh, hey, I'm the leader of the gang, but I don't have a gang. Or something like that, right? Like he'll go up to AJ Styles or somebody like that, and he'll be like, "Okay, cool." So like, I don't think that this works on the main roster. So I could see a world where he potentially joins Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in them. That could potentially happen. But other than that, I just see him getting lost in the shuffle on the main roster. Like we saw what happened with Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes was super over and good in NXT. He went up to the main roster. They didn't have anything for him, and they stopped booking him. And then next thing you know, he got released. And I could honestly see the same thing with Tony D'Angelo if he were to go onto the main roster. So if I'm Tony D'Angelo, I'm staying in NXT. I think that's the best place for him, and yeah, I think he'll do much better just sticking it out in NXT because if you remember with like the DIY era of NXT, like those guys along with like Adam Cole, they didn't want to leave NXT. They're like, we're not just gonna go up to the main roster and like just be another body on the roster because that's what Tony D'Angelo would be if he went up right now. So I think that's what Tony D'Angelo should do in this case. So yeah, I think Stacks wins that match. Um, we have the NXT Women's North American Championship match: Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan. I think Sol Ruka retains here. I don't see Kalani Jordan winning back the title. It's too early for Sol Ruka to lose it here. But this feud is another feud that has just been all over the place and just overall not good. We had Zarya versus Kalani Jordan. Zarya beat Kalani, but then last night on NXT, she's like, "Can we just forget that happened at all? And can you fight me tonight?" And then Kalani wins. So I don't understand that at all. But yeah, we have Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan at NXT Battleground this weekend, and I think Sol Ruka is just going to win. And it really just feels like they're hesitant on pulling that trigger of the heel turn of Kalani Jordan because right now she's just in a tweener spot, and she's not a full heel, she's not a full baby face. So I hope they eventually just pull the trigger on that heel turn rather than having her just stuck in the middle and then eventually getting lost in the shuffle. I hope they end up doing something with her because I do like Kalani Jordan. I think she's great. So yeah, hopefully they do something with that. But I think in the grand scheme of things, Zarya is the one to beat Sol Ruka for that title. I think that match has to happen at this point. So yeah, I think that's where that's gonna go. We have the six-man tag team match: the Culling, Sean Spears, Brooks Jensen, and Nico Vance versus Josh Briggs, Hank Walker, and Tank Ledger. I don't have anything to say about this match. I think that this is just a pointless filler that should just be on TV. And yeah, I don't have anything. I think the Culling is gonna win this, and this ends up being Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance versus Hank and Tank for the tag titles, and the Culling probably wins that. I'm just waiting for Hank and Tank to drop those tag titles, honestly. Like, look, I like Sean Spears. I think Brooke Jensen is cool. I haven't seen enough of Nico Vance to really um get behind him and really know what he's about. They keep seeming like they're gonna push Josh Briggs, but never do. So I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. But I'm a fan of Josh Briggs. Hank and Tank is just heavy machinery all over again, honestly. And like I said, I'm just waiting for that moment where they drop the tag team titles. Um, so yeah, that's all this is. I think the Culling wins. There's nothing else to say about that match. So I don't know what the main event is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be the NXT Women's Championship match between Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace, or if it's going to be the TNA World Title match between Trick Williams and Joe Hendry. They do like headlining with the women, so it is possible. But yeah, I have no clue. But we're gonna get into the NXT Women's Championship match between Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace. Um, I think Jordan Grace is going to win the title here. Vaquer has had a great run with the title. I don't think the original plan when Julia won the title was for things to unfold the way that they did. And I literally wrote that on the website. That is what I wrote because there were so many things to leading up to this that just were a little bit messy. Like with Vaquer being a double champ and then just vacating it for that ladder match. Um there's there's not much to say. These two are really great. I'm a fan of both. And Stephanie Vaquer is really high up on my rankings now, and she got up there quickly. And Jordan Grace is a great wrestler as well, and I think this is going to be a great match. And if this ends up main eventing, I think it's very suitable for a main event. Um, I think the ultimate goal in the end was to put the title on Jordan Grace, and I think that's going to happen here. There's not much else to say about that. I think Jordan Grace wins the NXT Women's Championship here. I don't know what happens to Stephanie Vaquer after this though, because they just acquired Julia on SmackDown, and Roxanne Perez just got acquired on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know. Do you move Stephanie to the main roster as well? And then if you take off Stephanie and move her to the main roster, then you're just, the strongest women's division in wrestling right now goes down a whole lot because the four that were holding that fort down was Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace, Julia, and Roxanne Perez. And eventually, like if Jordan Grace loses this, does she go to the main roster? What happens to her? I don't think that she should go into the North American title picture because I feel like that's a little bit of a downgrade and there's other people competing for that title. So this may be a lose-lose because I don't know if they have any plans for either of these women if they lose. So I'm really curious as to what happens to Stephanie Vaquer. I hope this isn't a case where she just gets lost in a shuffle after she loses. But then again, if she goes up to the main roster, where does she go? Where does she land? Is there going to be enough space for her to have TV time, right? There's so many questions that go into this. But we're just honestly going to have to wait and find out. But I hope that both of these women get elevated to the top, and because I'm a fan of both of them. I'm a fan of Julie and Roxanne as well. I'm so thrilled and happy that Roxanne Perez is finally on the main roster. So yeah, congrats to her and congrats to Julia. Julie got moved up pretty quick. That was pretty quick, but it's deserving. Julia's a great wrestler, and I think she'll hopefully do great things on SmackDown. But yeah, in terms of this match, I think Jordan Grace is gonna walk away with the title. Now for the other potential main event, Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship. There is a very strong possibility that Trick Williams can walk out with the TNA title. Now, that would require a lot of, signing off and a big leap for TNA to sign off on that for Trick Williams to win the title. So I honestly think that Joe Hendry is going to retain here. On NXT, they had Joe Hendry standing tall, after, Trick's music performance and Joe's music performance. Joe Hendry was standing tall in the end of it, which I didn't like either of the performances. But, yeah, usually when the champ stands tall, that's usually a sign of things to come. But I don't think in this instance that'll be the case because this is not the last time they're going to meet before Battleground. For those of you that don't watch TNA, they have an event coming up on Friday, I believe. TNA Under Siege, and where they'll be in a tag match. It'll be Joe Hendry and Elijah/Elias versus Trick Williams and Frank Kazarian. Elijah doesn't really have anything to do with it. He's just a good friend of Joe Hendry. Frankie Kazarian, this could end up just being a thing down the road with Joe Hendry again. So with that, I think that Joe Hendry is going to retain, and maybe he loses the title at like Slammiversary or something like that. Um, but yeah, and it poses another question. The same question I asked with the Vaquer and Grace match is, if Trick loses, what happens to Trick Williams? Where does he go? Does he go to the main roster? Does he spend more time in TNA? Does he run back a feud with Obafemi? Um, I have no idea, but I am looking forward to this match. I think this match should be good. I don't think it's going to be the best match of the night, but it's definitely going to be entertaining for sure. Um, but yeah, that's all we have for the NXT Battleground card. I think this was actually longer than um, the Double or Nothing predictions, but I had a lot to yap about in this one. Talk about so yeah, and just to go off about it, honestly, just because like the product, especially for NXT, is just like it's sometimes where it's so bad it's entertaining, and recently in NXT that's been the case. Um, Honestly, actually, it hasn't been the case. It's been so bad where I've been falling asleep. I literally said I was falling asleep last night during NXT, so I can't even say that it's entertaining. When you do coverage for these things, if anyone listening to this does coverage for these things, don't get comfortable when you're um, covering this, because if the show is bad, you're going to fall asleep. Um, get an office or something like that, and because I've just been doing these coverages from my couch in my living room, and my couch is really comfy. So when the show gets boring, I get tired and I start falling asleep. So uh, yeah, but let me know you guys' thoughts and predictions on this card. If you agree or disagree with anything, I am always open to hearing it. Um, yeah, let me know. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I have left to say. I will get the Saturday night's main event predictions out soon. Uh, Probably tomorrow. It'll probably be tomorrow, because since this is my second podcast of today, my voice needs a little bit of a break. But I will get that to you guys as soon as I can. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, interviews, podcasts, all that good stuff. Follow me on all social medias for daily updates. Go check out the Kayfabe Central website. Go check out my WWE shop link if you're planning on buying anything from WWE shop. Go subscribe to the Ko-Fi page for exclusive content over there. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.